But so far, I am over the moon with how these are turning out. So guys, we are back and we are going to carry on with my 4AGE 16 valve rocker covers or valve cover paint restoration. Now, I put out there that I want you guys to come up with some ideas of what you would like me to do with regards of the paint scheme of these valve covers. And believe it or not, most of you thought that the OEM was actually the best route to take. So just the silver with the black and the little blue 16 valve is actually, for this particular car, the route to take. I suppose because this car is pretty much OEM with just a few subtle details, I suppose that I agree, and OEM would be the cleanest option. But I did want to try something new and go out there and maybe try something quirky. But maybe that's something we could do in the future. But you guys have voted to stick with the OEM, so that is what we are going to do. So I've bought some silver VHT paint. I just need to clean these valve covers up, make sure there's no grease or dirt, and then get them in the silver and then start doing the small details. And hopefully these will come out and look very, very clean when we bolt them back onto the top of the engine. So here we have the covers. We left them. They've been sat for about a week and they do look just as clean as I remember. As I said, I will wipe over just to get rid of any grease and any debris where they've been sat for a week. We also need to repaint the valley cover. So this, as you can see here, has been welded because this is off an MR2 Mark 1, where there's a little bracket which holds, I think, a throttle cable, whereas the A86 one won't have this little fitting. So what I did a few years back was put a grub screw in it, and then I just tacked a little bit of weld. But as you can see, I didn't do the greatest of job and there's a couple of low points. So what I'm going to do is mix up some filler, give that a skim, and then that will be ready to get into some etch primer. And this is just going to remain in a satin black. So that is something I can do nice and easy. These though, as you have voted, is to stick OEM. You can see there's a few fingerprints and this is why we need to wipe them down with a tack-free cloth and just remove all of the grease. Once I've done that, the VHT paint that I have is direct to metal, so there's no primer required and is good for up to 700 degrees. With regards of the Toyota and the 16 valve lettering, I'm going to have to paint those by hand, and I have bought some engine enamel, and that's going to take a little bit of time. Just going to take my time with some thin brushes and paint those in. So we will have the twin cam in the black, and the same with the Toyota and the 16. And then the 16 valve here is in the lighter blue, as this is classed as a blue top engine. So let's give them a good clean and let's start applying some paint. So that's a wipe down, no more fingerprints, and should allow the paint. First coat is very thin, just to allow it to adhere to the metal. And then you go over with a couple more of the thicker coats. But yeah, let's get this out in the sun. And I'm going to start with this side first. And hopefully the colour looks pretty good. And then we can start with this one. So this is the first coat. Just a very, very quick dust coat, just to allow the paint to stick to the metal. But so far, very happy with it. A lot brighter silver than what it was previously. So yeah, we look like we're heading the right way. So yeah, give that maybe 10 minutes and then I'll go over with another couple of coats, a little bit thicker this time. And yeah, once we let that dry, we can apply the paint, which is going to take a little bit of time, but I'm going to find that quite therapeutic, I think. I'll take these home and I'll sit down and I'll take my time and I'll paint these as best I can. I'll let that dry a little bit. Once that's done, I'll go over with some petrol resistant lacquer, just to make sure this is going to get the best protection possible once it's back on the engine. So whilst the paint dries between layers, let's get some filler mixed up and let's get this little blemish here filled in. We can prep that and then we can get this into some etch primer. So just a very thin coat applied. I'll give that about 15-20 minutes just to harden. Flat it back with some wet and dry, and that should make a good repair. There you go, guys. Much better than it was. Much flatter, fills in all those low spots. So now let's get some extra primer on it. So this is, I think, the third coat. And I'm actually really happy so far with how it's going on. Much nicer than it was previously. And the silver is actually really nice. It is dulling down ever so slightly, which I really, really like. So what I might do is add a final coat, another sort of relatively thick coat, and then I'll call that it for the silver. And then what I'll do is I'll let this dry. I can then apply all the hand painted pieces, let that set for a little bit, and then I'll go over both of them, as I mentioned, with some petrol resistant lacquer. And I think these will look fantastic. First coat of the satin black. It's gone on really well, nice and even. So another couple of coats of this, a couple of coats of some clear lacquer, and that is the valley cover done. So now let's go and check on the progress of these valve covers and add the final coat of silver. And this is what we have. So I'm going to now let this dry completely, and then I can get on and do the details, and I'll probably do that tomorrow. I'm going to let these set overnight because I'd hate to put fingerprints or any compression marks into the paint. Okay then guys, so it is the following day. The paint is now dry, so let me show you the progress so far. So this is what we have. Very, very happy overall. As I said, the paint is now lovely and dry. Valley cover has come out really well also. So all it needs now is some masking tape around here just to protect the silver, make sure I don't spill any paint. And the paint that I will be using is this here. I bought this from a local motor factor. She did have the black, but the sky blue, which we need for the 16 valve, she didn't have in stock, but that will take a couple of days, which is perfect because I'm sure it's going to take a couple of days for me to get this as neat as possible. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to mask this, and then we can start applying the black to the Toyota 16 valve and the twin cam. But so far, I am over the moon with how these are turning out, and you guys were definitely right for going with the OEM option. So, got some masking tape, so I can now apply that and get this painted. Okay, so I think that'll work for now. So yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so here we are then guys. A couple of days have gone by. Managed to paint all the letters in, and I'm very happy with the outcome. No runs. The VHT paint is obviously allowed to set for a couple of days, which is good because we can now then lacquer it, and hopefully then that will seal all this in and give it a nice shine. And then I'll leave that for maybe a couple of days, and then this can go back on to the engine. Okay then guys, so it has been 24 hours, so hopefully now the lacquer is cured, which it looks like it has. So let me show you the results. There we go. Just gives it a nice shine, as you can see there. Obviously, as mentioned previously, the condition of the rocker covers overall isn't absolutely amazing, but they are 42 years old, and I am more than happy with the finish. But yeah, the lacquer has gone on well, and it's covered it all. So these will be fitted to the car, and the car won't be driven for a good couple of days. I'm actually heading to a show on the Sunday, so it'll let it cure for that little bit longer also. But yeah, very, very happy with the result. Definitely worth the time and effort. So what I'll do is I'll clean up the gaskets to make sure they're as clean as they can be. Insert them into the valve covers, and then we can take off this black and gold set, which, do you know what, I'm actually getting really used to. The red HT leads with the red 16 valve really goes well together. But the OEM is the look that I've always wanted to go for. So, as I said, get these off, get those ones on, and we're done. For those of you that have ever wondered what it looks like half and half, strangely, looks very interesting. It's, yeah, it's not actually the black and silver. Honestly, I think looks brilliant. And there you go. It looks absolutely mint. And that actually puts this to shame. This looked very clean against this originally. Where, if you remember, this was going all yellow. Obviously, this is a lot older. That is fresh paint. But that looks so much cleaner. So, I just need to detail the engine bay, as well as clean the exterior of the car, because last time I drove it, it did rain, and it's probably the dirtiest it's ever been in quite a few years. But yeah, give the car a good detail, and then we're ready for the show. So really, really happy with the results of that, and it looks fantastic. It really does make a huge difference to the engine bay. But with that, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.